West Texas, 1876. As the first light of dawn creeps over the horizon, two young Apache hunters guide their mounts toward a ridge, moving with care to avoid startling any nearby game. Both are barely teenagers, their youth belying the harsh world they inhabit. One, a full-blooded Apache named Bobo, rides a sturdy horse borrowed from his father. The other, an adopted member of the tribe, was once a German-speaking farm boy from a homestead near what is now Mason, Texas. His birth name was Herman Lehman, though that name feels distant to him now. Years ago, he and his younger brother Willie were abducted by Apache raiders while tending sheep. The brothers endured brutal treatment, starvation, beatings, and relentless marches with little rest. Willie eventually escaped, but Herman remained, unable to break free. Over time, he was adopted into an Apache family, though his new life was far from easy. Life in West Texas was grueling for any tribe, including the Apache. The barren terrain and constant clashes with Americans, Mexicans, and rival tribes forged a relentless, violent existence. For Herman, now called Enda, a name meaning white boy, that constantly reminded him of his outsider status, acceptance came with challenges. Despite his adoption, he was never fully Apache, a fact his name underscored every time it was spoken. Still, Herman, or Enda, embraced the role of a young warrior in training under the stern guidance of his adoptive father, a chief named Carnovist. This same chief had led the raiding party that kidnapped Herman and Willie from their family's farm. Carnovist introduced Herman to the unforgiving realities of Apache life even before they reached the tribe's village. On the trail, food was scarce, and the luxury of stopping to cook was unthinkable while pursued. In his later writings, 9 Years Among the Indians, Herman recounted being forced to eat raw calf liver from a slaughtered animal the raiders found, struggling to keep it down. Days later, his hunger overcame his revulsion when the band stumbled upon abandoned baby antelope, their parents scattered by the approaching Apache. The young antelope were gathered into a leather sack as the group rode on to their evening camp. After hours of travel, they paused to build a fire, the first in days. Once a bed of glowing coals was ready, the antelope, some still alive, were tossed whole onto the flames to roast. Herman later described a mix of awe and horror as the antelope parents, known for tracking their lost young, appeared near the camp, attempting to save their offspring. The Apache swiftly killed both, turning the night into a rare feast. For most, it was the first substantial meal in days, a moment of relief in their harsh lives. This was Herman's new reality as he transitioned from a young German settler to an Apache warrior, learning to survive in a land that offered little and demanded much. He mastered riding, tracking, hunting, and fighting. The Apache were adept at finding water in seemingly arid landscapes, and were renowned for their ability to track game and people across the rocky, dust-covered expanses of their territory. Their prowess as warriors and raiders was feared from Utah to Mexico, yet this desert was not their ancestral home. Long ago, the Apache had roamed the fertile plains of modern-day Texas, hunting vast buffalo herds, gathering pecans, camping in lush meadows, and bathing in clear rivers. That changed with the arrival of the Comanche. Over a few decades, these newcomers from the northern Rockies, empowered by their mastery of the horse, systematically drove the Apache from central and southern Texas. The Comanche raids were relentless, their scale and ferocity unmatched. Tribes like the Tonkawa, Karankawa, Caddo, Hueco, Cheyenne, as well as Spanish, Mexican, and Texan settlers, all faced similar devastation. Accounts of Comanche raids were chillingly consistent. Fighting-age men were often tortured and killed. Women were assaulted and exploited. Infants were slain for being burdensome, and children or young teens like Herman with the Apache were subjected to brutal initiations before adoption into the tribe. The Comanche's bloodline became one of the most mixed among tribes, as high male mortality, from constant warfare and low birth rates, due to frequent miscarriages among their horse-bound women, necessitated adopting captives. Raids typically ended with the theft of horses and goods, and the burning of homes and crops. The Apache, perhaps more than any other group, bore the brunt of this aggression. Though many personal stories were lost, the rapid retreat of the Apache from their Texas homelands testifies to the intensity of these attacks. Still, they adapted to their new, harsher desert lands, where game was scarce but obtainable. On this morning, Herman and Bobo ventured from their camp, believing themselves safe from Comanche raids, as they were far west of the Comanche's usual range. Their only concern was avoiding spooking game and navigating back to their village. Then the sound of hoofbeats shattered the silence. They were the only warriors who had left camp, so the approaching riders were not their kin. Before they could react, a band of Comanche warriors crested the ridge above them. Their only hope was to flee to their village and rally a defense. Bobo's swift, well-bred horse bolted toward the camp, his rider clinging low to its neck. Herman's mule, however, was less cooperative. Beaten and skittish from years of abuse, it spun in tight circles instead of running, ignoring Herman's desperate urging. As the mule whirled, Herman shouted to Bobo for help, but Bobo, gripped by panic, raced ahead on his faster mount. After several dizzying spins, a Comanche arrow struck the mule's hip, jolting it into a frenzied gallop toward the village. Herman clung to the mule as it surged past Bobo, whose horse was tiring as the Comanche closed in. Bobo pleaded for Herman to wait, but, as Herman later wrote, "If I had no mind to linger, it was hopeless, for that dun mule was unstoppable." The mule charged through the Apache camp, scattering women and children in its panicked rush to rejoin the village's horse herd. What had been a peaceful morning camp was now a scene of chaos. Herman dismounted the bucking mule, leapt onto another horse, and returned to the village, just as the battle against the Comanche, around 40 warriors by Herman's estimate, began in earnest. The Apache warriors repelled the initial charge, pushing the Comanche back. As Herman scanned the defenders, firing arrows and bullets, he searched for Bobo, but couldn't find him. Amid the chaos, he noticed warriors advancing toward the village's edge. There he saw Bobo's body, riddled with Comanche arrows and scalped, lying lifeless on the ground. The carefree hunter who had ridden out with him that morning was gone. Overwhelmed by rage, Herman joined the warriors fighting to reclaim Bobo's body. In his memoirs he recalled, "Every inch was fought over. The Comanche were fierce, but we had greater numbers. The battle, starting mid-morning, raged until dusk. By sundown the Comanche retreated, leaving many dead. The Apache lost 20 warriors, with 8 more wounded. 4 died that night, despite the medicine man's efforts. 1 more the next day, though 3 survived. The Apache buried their dead with dignity. The survivors scoured the battlefield, collecting usable weapons, guns, bows, arrows, shields, and any surviving horses. The Comanche dead were shown no respect, their bodies dumped in a pit for scavengers. Fearing more Comanche nearby, the Apache quickly packed and moved north. Scouts fanned out to search for hidden enemies. Soon 2 Comanche spies were found, one killed instantly, the other captured for torture. Carnovist, Herman's adoptive father, sliced holes in the captive's arms, threaded rawhide through them, and hung him from a tree to die as the Apache moved on. Herman later noted with disgust that an old Apache woman, disfigured for infidelity, secretly cut the man down, an act of mercy frowned upon in their harsh world. The group reached a spring 60 miles away, where they paused to grieve and rage. One morning an elder awoke sweating from a vivid nightmare, warning of a massive Comanche pursuit. He shared this with Carnoviste, who convened a council. The Apache fasted all day, debating their next move. Most urged leaving to avoid further losses to their relentless foe. Carnoviste agreed, and the village hastily packed, moving west with stealth across the exposed landscape. After 20 miles, some questioned the old man's vision. Then, as if summoned, Comanche warriors appeared, charging with arrows flying. The Apaches suffered catastrophic losses, 40 warriors killed, most women and children captured, and all horses and supplies stolen. The Comanche also took heavy losses, as the Apache had more rifles. Herman estimated that about 100 Apache warriors and 6 women escaped on foot, wandering the barren land for a month, scraping by on meager food and water. Eventually, they encountered another Comanche band, 150 strong and well-armed. The survivors shared their ordeal, prompting a call across Apache territory for tribes to gather at a known dry lake bed. As word spread, warriors from Utah, Arizona, and Mexico converged, preparing for war. The camp buzzed with activity, arrows crafted, spears sharpened, rifles cleaned, shields reinforced. The Apache resolved to end the Comanche's dominance and reclaim their ancestral lands. Hatred ran deep. Even women and children were trained in combat and escape routes for the looming battle. Legendary chiefs Vittorio and Geronimo joined the effort, with Vittorio leading scouts westward to locate Comanche. Days passed without word until Vittorio returned alone, barely clinging to his horse. His scouts were dead, and the Comanche knew the Apache were massing. A council convened, with Vittorio urging peace, warning, "I don't fear the Comanche or their Kiowa allies, but they outnumber us, armed by whites with guns and ammunition. The white man is our true enemy. I saw their numbers, countless as grass blades or stars. If we fight each other, they'll destroy us all." Chief Red Wasp countered, "The whites are cowards who stole our lands, killed our game, spread disease, and sowed discord. They've corrupted our people and traditions, bringing despair. I'll fight the Comanche to the death, as they've killed ours. If we must die, let's fight to the end." After debate, a truce was proposed to unite against the whites. The next day, under a white flag, the Apache approached within 3 miles of the Comanche camp. A Comanche rider circled, taunting with a black shield, a challenge to total war. Instead, an Apache rider advanced unarmed, still bearing the white flag. Surprised, the Comanche sent 6 men to meet 6 Apache at a midpoint. The Comanche agreed to peace if the Apache who tortured their spy was surrendered. Knowing this was Carnoviste, the Apache claimed he died in battle. Disappointed but unwilling to escalate, the Comanche accepted peace. The truce held. Captives were returned, and celebrations followed. Some Apache women stayed with the Comanche to cement the alliance through marriage, including the disfigured woman. Herman disdained. He credited Vittorio's diplomacy for the peace, a rare feat in a brutal era. Though their unified stand against settlers never fully formed, this moment showcased Vittorio's leadership. Herman's saga continued. He later killed an Apache medicine man to avenge Carnoviste and joined the Comanche. But those are tales for another time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.